volume off on your computer and on.
Okay, we're ready?
All right.
Hold on, let me find my screen.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone. I apologize for the wait. We'll go ahead and reconvene to open session at 6:01. The board did meet in closed session and took the following action. In closed session tonight, the board denied a claim for Irma Leal. The roll call vote was as follows. Trustee Pickle, aye. Trustee Ham, aye. Trustee Lopez, aye. Trustee Swigert, aye. And Trustee Valadez, aye. We'll go ahead and move on to the flag salute. If you could please stand, and Trustee Lopez will lead us.
Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Richard. Any changes to the agenda? No changes for the agenda?
I'm gonna pull the
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Roy?
What was the number?
1410.
14. On the consent agenda, we need the full item 1410.
Okay. Do we need to do that now, or if we wait for the consent agenda?
We can wait.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Wait, we're gonna do it on 4 docs, right?
Yes.
Ooh.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Are you calling for the vote, Mrs. Pickle?
Yes.
A motion and a second by
yes.
Aaron.
Mr. Lopez made the motion, and then Mrs. Ham was the second.
Mrs. Ham, are you voting online, or would you like me to record your vote?
She's frozen.
I'm an aye if my vote isn't showing up.
It is not. I'll register it for you.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Mrs. Euchre and the Buhack Colony High School Academic Decathlon Team.
You're on, Mrs. Euchre.
Good evening, Superintendent Peterson, Cabinet, and School Board, and Board President Pickle. We thank you so much for allowing us to be here this evening. I have the pleasure of introducing our academic decathlon coach, Mr. Josh Newton. He's a history teacher on our campus. He teaches AP European History, AP US History. He also teaches an online US History course. Not only is he a fantastic teacher, but he participates in the FFA competition field day, which we defeated him in last year. I'm sure we'll have a healthy competition when we all return to campus. He's also our emperor for our homecoming. And this just goes to show what great relationships he builds with students on our campus. He's also the department chair, which also shows the wonderful relationships he builds with the staff as well. So without further ado, I give to you our esteemed winner of the academic decathlon and our coach, Josh Newton.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Euchre, for all those kind words. And thank you, Mr. Peterson, and thank you, board members, for allowing us to be here tonight to recognize the accomplishments of our academic decathlon team. Just to start off, this year we placed first for the first time in school history at the Merced County Academic Decathlon Competition, knocking off the 12-time in a row champion Merced High School this past February. That led us to represent Merced County and, more importantly, Merced Union High School District at the state competition this past month. And at the state competition, we were able to win third place in our division. And we brought home 11 individual medals altogether, which was second in our division. And it was actually first amongst the top 3 teams in our division. We had 5 gold medals, 3 silvers, and 3 bronze medals at the state competition as well this year. And with our bronze medal for the team, we actually brought home 20 total medals from the state competition this year. So it was a pretty big accomplishment for our students this year and our team overall. The team members are Michael Ney, Adam Haskins, Andrew Shalging, Thomas Mendoza, Ernesto Cortez, Natalie Magdaleno, Gerben Caballero Bayo, and also 2 members of our team who are here with us tonight. We have Liam Newsom, who himself won 4 individual medals at the state competition. He won 3 gold medals in the honors, the most competitive category of all, which is the honors category. And he won. He actually got a perfect score on the music test at the state competition, which the state tests are much more difficult than the county tests as well. And we also have Sam Samani with us, who received a near perfect score on his speech at the state competition. He got a 990 out of 1,000 at the state competition. And he's going to say a few words on behalf of the team this year.
Hello, everyone. I would like to simply emphasize that the academic decathlon competition is really a team effort. Even though only me and Liam are here today, I would like to thank you all and simply exacerbate the fact that this was all a team effort, whether it be study sessions, whether it be practicing our speeches together, whether it be studying tactics together, or whether it be studying in general. This was all an effort undertaken by our team. And I would also like to thank Mr. Noon again for being the catalyst through which we were able to focus our effort and achieve victory both at the regional level and to a further extent at the state level. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone, for allowing us to be here tonight as well.
Great job, Sam and Mr. Newton and Ms. Euchre and the whole team.
Yeah, congratulations to all of you. What a wonderful accomplishment. Thank you, Sam, Liam, and the rest of your team, Mr. Newton, for your time and for leading the team, and Mrs. Euchre for your support. That's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, for all your support.
Yep. Everybody. And I happen to know Sam and Liam personally, and they're not only incredibly brilliant, they are wonderful people. And I love to hear, Sam, that your gift of gab is being put to such good use. Way to go on speech. And Liam, music, that's incredible. Awesome, you guys. Good job, McSwain grads too, right?
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Well done, all.
That's pretty awesome.
Indeed.
All right, next we'll move on to the showcase for El Capitan, Spanish patient care class with Mr. Shaw.
Yeah, good evening, President Pickle, Superintendent Peterson, member of the board and cabinet. For our student showcase tonight, we have a presentation by members of our Spanish patient care or medical Spanish class. This is a class that started 4 years ago. It's facilitated by Ms. Jose Duran. Students regularly report that this is one of the most impactful classes, one of the most impactful advanced classes due to the hands-on manner in which they learn a foreign language and within a context. And that context is the medical field. And the class is very applicable for students who plan to work in this field in the near future. Did you want, Ms. Rohrbach, do you want me to go ahead and share?
Yes, that's fine, Mr. Shaw.
Okay.
Hola, distinguished board members and existing staff. Yes, my name is Professor Duran and I teach medical Spanish at Capitan High School. When the opportunity presented itself 4 years ago to expand our Spanish course offerings and medical Spanish was an option, I knew that we had to offer it. As a kid, when my parents visited the medical professionals, I was one of the translators. I remember how extremely frustrating it was. I was only a young kid, and although I had social English skills, I did not have all the medical terms. My father would get angry at me for not being able to translate for him. Now I have the opportunity to help young future medical professionals learn about patient care, help them further their Spanish fluency, and advance their understanding of the community. I would like you to hear from some of them as they share their own experiences in this valuable course. Muchas gracias. Buenas noches.
Jenna Briggs, abogada de medicina. ¿Por qué decidiste apuntarte para Medical Español?
In hopes of becoming a medical lawyer, I decided to take medical Spanish to enhance my Spanish fluency and become a representative for our Spanish-speaking communities. I've noticed that Spanish speakers tend to lack the proper medical law attention. My goal from participating in medical Spanish is to ultimately provide a safe space for Spanish speakers to seek medical law advice. Medical Spanish has taught me the proper words, phrases, and dialogue to properly care and speak to patients, thus reducing misunderstandings due to language barriers in the field of medical law. La clase de medical Spanish me ha permitido conectar con otros estudiantes con inspiraciones similares a las mías y también me ha ayudado a mejorar mi español.
Carlos Ceja, enfermero registrado. Carlos, ¿por qué tomaste esta clase?
Taking this medical Spanish class with already being a Spanish speaker, I think will benefit me in ways like bettering my accent and being able to speak Spanish more fluently. Also, making the patients feel welcomed and as if they belong and aren't being judged for speaking their native language is important, as it helps them know and feel like they are being heard and not just seen. This class has also helped me further better my writing skills with things like accent marks. Sometimes as a Spanish speaker, I forget to say and write things properly, and this class has kept my memory sharp and going back and correcting myself. Cuando una persona se siente bienvenido o bienvenida, se van a sentir más cómodos. En el aspecto del trabajo va a corregir de una manera más efectiva y creo que no podría escoger una clase más mejor.
Daisy Figueroa, ginecóloga. Why did you decide to enroll in medical Spanish? How did the teacher adjust in not being able to bring guest speakers to class?
For as long as I can remember, my dream profession has always been to become an OBGYN nurse. I would remember when my parents would ask me why I wanted to be an OBGYN, and my answer was always the same. It was because I wanted to help mothers during labor. And I thought that enrolling into medical Spanish would or could be my first step. And I would also go to doctor appointments with my grandma, and I would see how much she would suffer to communicate with her doctor over simple stuff. And I would have to communicate sometimes, and it could have gotten really difficult sometimes too. En esta clase he aprendido muchas palabras médicas que podría usar con mis futuros médicos. También me he aprendido cómo dar a mis futuros pacientes el mejor cuidado, porque he aprendido que el mejor cuidado es la mejor manera en haciendo una relación con tus pacientes. Prophet Duran has talked to us about how in the past years, he would have guest speakers come into our classrooms and talk to us about their professional experiences in the medical field. But sadly, this year, we weren't able to have the guest speakers come to us. So my teacher did a great job adjusting to the situation. He had us watch a Netflix series called The Surgeon's Cut. This series was about medical professionals all over the world. My favorite episode would have to be the first one. It was about this doctor who would perform laser surgery on babies that meanwhile they were still in their mothers.
Miguel Oseguera, enfermera registrada o radióloga. How will being bilingual benefit you in the medical field? ¿Cuáles beneficios tiene esta clase para usted?
My name is Abigail Figuera, and as a member of the Latinx community, I can definitely say that being able to learn the Spanish language is an advantage. It will benefit me and my future patients since there's about 56 million Latinos in the USA. I remember when my parents used to visit the doctors and they were able to speak Spanish, the bond and trust was great compared to when the physician was not able to speak Spanish. It is hard for patients to receive fair care when the doctors cannot communicate with their patients. Even though this year has been difficult due to COVID-19, in the medical Spanish class, I've been able to learn that in order for a physician to be able to help his patient, it needs to gain his trust. Being able to take this medical Spanish class at a high school level is very beneficial to me as a young adult with interest in the medical career field.
This is just a really great class for our students. You see the passion coming across from them on the field of medicine that they plan on going into. But not only that, their understanding of the community needs and how they can be a help and assistance. Really great class.
Well, thank you, Mr. Shaw. It's a great learning experience and great support that they're able to provide as well.
It's really awesome. And it's neat to see that, you know, the class is born out of a need, a passion by both the teacher and the students for something that frustrated them in, you know, some of their younger years and whatnot. It's really neat. The empathy and the teaching all together, as well as advancement. And a lot of kids, I think, are taking it who are non-native speakers as well, who are entering or plan to enter the medical field. So does that class fall into a CTE pathway as well?
Yeah, and the classes, it's our fourth year of having the class. They work together with our med tech sometimes too, things. They're the class that kind of takes the lead on, you know, blood drives that we've had on campus. They've taken the lead on that over the years. They've worked in previous years, not this year, but with UC Merced and their Spanish and their medical as well. And so they've really done a good job, and Mr. Duran's done a good job of implementing all the things he can into that class for the students. And students are very passionate about it, and they love learning that way. Hands-on learning is just great for them.
Awesome. It's also morphed into a club as well, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think we approved a club, a Spanish language medical club a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Neat. Thank you for the great presentation.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, I think you're still up, Mr. Shaw. Principal's report.
Next up for the report. Okay, so we've started back with in-person students on Monday, and it's great to see more kids on campus. It's more like a normal campus, definitely a better vibe amongst the students. They were just so excited Monday morning, and they're excited to have some sense of normality. And numerous students have said that they want to be here in person because they know they need to get grades up, and it's difficult for them to study at home in the online format. We've had athletics, as you know, go in our activities: football, girls tennis, cross country, swim, boys soccer. A number of other sports have already had their seasons or are in their seasons right now. And we have several other seasons about to start up: baseball, water polo, and now we have a schedule for basketball, volleyball also. And it's been a huge boost for the students, the families, and the community for these high school athletics to be able to take place. We were able to do a homecoming evening and a senior evening on two separate nights for football games. Right now, we're preparing for a senior dinner, which will be May 15th for us, and a scholarship night, which will be May 6th, and a variety of scenarios for graduation, depending on how things go and things take place. Our staff and teachers have done just an exceptional job of keeping everything functioning, providing the best possible education for students and information for families to help them feel supported as possible. And I just really have to commend our staff for maintaining a high level of professionalism and dedication through the many challenges that we've all been through. Same thing with the administrative staff, the associate principals, athletic director, activities director, librarian, instructional coach, site tech, all these people that just keep things going behind the scenes and have been exemplary models of problem solving and maintaining that can-do approach. Among other things, right now, we're preparing for a summer school program that will support students needing to address learning loss and credit loss. Our parents and community have been very understanding, supportive, and appreciative of the efforts of the school and the district. It's surprising in times like these when everybody's so stressed to hear so many parents, guardians, community members just saying thank you, and we appreciate the job that you're all doing. And on behalf of El Capitan, the staff and the community, I want to just thank our district cabinet members and board members for your leadership and care and support for our kids and community over the past year. It's amazing with everything that's gone on, what we've been able to do and continue forward. So thank you sincerely.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw, to you and your staff for providing those opportunities for the kids. I know they're excited to be back and have, like you said, some sense of normalcy and experience some of the, the events that they should be able to experience. So thank you very, very much.
Mr. Shaw, what was the attendance like this week so far?
We've been right around 37%. So our student enrollment right now is 1,779 students. On Monday, we had 643. On Tuesday, yesterday, 650. And today, about 670. That's not perfect because people put in attendance and different things happen to count that. So we are seeing it go up. And the process we'll be going through next, and we're going through with our guidance department right now, is finding out which students are enrolled to be here in person, but are not showing up in person, and then seeing what their need is, if they're going to remain on distance learning. And we've had a number of students that have been set for distance learning come back in person and doing that. So over the next week, 2 weeks, we expect that's going to continue to happen. And it is trickling up for sure.
Yeah, it looks like, and I know when I visited whenever it was, you had a very welcoming lunchtime. So I think word of mouth goes out to the rest of the students and they want to come back. So that's awesome. I also did get to visit the Spanish patient care class last year before everything was shut down. And I was impressed with what's going on there. You did have a speaker that day when I went. So it was impressive what the kids are doing there. So thank you for that and everything you do there.
Thank you.
Mr. Shaw, Mr. Peterson, this question, I guess it's around the scholarship night. And I know at one of the previous meetings, Trustee Hammond mentioned about extending those dates out as we continue this progression of the tiered system. Obviously, as we now are in the red and we're going to be at a capacity percentage-wise that we can host, is there any thought as far as hosting those virtually, in person versus virtual, or are we still, are people doing a combo of both, or just going to?
No, we're planning in person. Costa, I'll let you comment on that.
Yeah, we are planning on being in person in small groups. It won't be full, right, blown like we've done in the past, but they will be in person.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
With all events, just want to be open and transparent about this. We're going to push the capacity.
Yeah.
And whether it's graduation or whether it's a scholarship night, we're going to go up to the percent that's allowable by county health.
Excellent answer, Mr. Peterson.
As a parent of a senior, I received an email yesterday actually asking for information about scholarships that my student might have received that the district was unaware of. And there was a note saying that scholarship night would be in person and by invitation only. So I think parents that was a district-wide announcement. So I think parents have actually gotten somewhat of a heads up that it would be like that, which is awesome. Very exciting.
Good deal.
Yep. Right. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have general public comment. And I believe we have one comment.
Yes, we do. President Pickle. This comment is from Sarah Hansard. And Sarah says, I want to express my appreciation and gratitude to the MUHSD teachers, staff members, board members, administration, and everyone involved in returning our students to campus 5 days per week. I also greatly appreciate the careful planning that has gone into fully resuming our sports and musical programs, which are so important for engagement. Thank you for all your leadership and your transparency over the last year. I feel that we will all emerge stronger and more resilient when this is over.
Thank you for your comment. Thank you, Mrs. Roebuck. Reports and discussions. Superintendent's goals with Mrs. Garman.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well this great April evening. Let me share my screen really quick. Alrighty, I am here to talk to you about an update and what we've done and implemented on this digital citizenship goal, which was established a little more than 2 years ago. The goal at that time was set to explore options for a comprehensive approach to digital citizenship for students, staff, and parents. So during that spring of 2019, just to give you a little context and remind us all of the pre-pandemic world we were in, I had multiple meetings at that time with our teacher librarians to review our current practices, as well as the ISTE standards, ISTE standing for International Society for Technology and Education. That's a widely recognized organization, a leading force of information and resources around educational technology. And we started to develop collaboratively a definition for our district of what digital citizenship means in the MUHSD. And what was developed that spring leading into that summer 2019 was a definition including 5 main characteristics. We want our students and staff to exhibit being a digital citizen, being an empowered learner, a global collaborator, a creative communicator, and an innovative designer. And so we kind of married that language from an existing tech plan that was in draft form to just make sure everything was aligned with the direction we were going at that time. And then we hit the summer 2019. That fall, we resumed discussions and started talking about current practices going on. And these are practices that will continue, and they've gone on actually for a number of years, just maybe without the intentional explicit calling out of digital citizenship. But the practices have been there. We have curriculum embedded in the freshman seminar course, which really addresses that characteristic of teaching our kids how it is to be a responsible, ethical, legal, digital citizen in this world. We have a staff of teacher librarians who are uniquely qualified in this area of information literacy, who collaborate with the staff on their respective sites, and they really speak to becoming an empowered learner, a global collaborator, a creative communicator in their work with our students and in collaboration with those classroom teachers. And we have instructional coaches at each site, as well as induction mentors who offer all kinds of opportunities on a voluntary basis and sometimes a required basis that really help staff learn what it is to be an innovative designer through a variety of application exercises, technologically speaking. So those are current practices that we identified that we want to keep going on. During that time, I also consulted with Matt Edwards from MCOE, and he established a trial account for me to explore Nearpod, which was a platform MCOE was using at that time. And it's a platform that offers a variety of resources to schools. Digital citizenship happened to be included in that suite. Now, it turned out to be cost prohibitive for our district to enter into an agreement and piggyback on with that. And so that was dismissed as a viable solution at that time. Fast forward to spring 2020 and the global pandemic hits. And so suddenly digital citizenship is in the forefront, and we're navigating distance learning, Zoom bombing, a host of online practices all over the place. And in the summer of 2020, it really came to light that we were going to be entering our next school year in distance learning mode. So that is when the section of our instructional framework was rewritten to intentionally call out and address research-based best practices for teaching and learning online. That is also when the 12 module training was developed, which included digital citizenship. So all our teachers completed that last August with a follow-up voluntary paid course happening last fall. And since then, what's going forward and being implemented with, again, greater intentionality around this topic. For staff, we have an online course that's going to launch when Innovate Ed resumes operations. It's been kind of on pause during this last year with everything going on, but there is an online course for which staff can complete to 90% mastery level and receive extra compensation of $120, as well as a certificate of completion. There is classroom instruction. The challenge, let me back up a second. The challenge with implementing a curriculum is deciding, where's this curriculum going to be plugged in so that it reaches all our kids? Well, that has to be in a required course that all the kids would take. And not all of our courses are required for all 4 years. So that really limits, again, where you're plugging something in. And so English was the most logical selection for that, and crosswalk nicely with the ISTE standards. We've been doing a lot of work with essential standards, also another superintendent goal. And so we took the time to create some resource materials that really aligned the relevant ISTE standards to our 5 characteristics, as well as the content standards for English, so that teachers really had a natural way to infuse that type of instruction in what they were going to do in their classroom, as well as the freshman seminar thing. Thirdly, for affecting staff, the instructional framework was rewritten to now embed digital citizenship skills within that framework, which directly influences the site planning. Sites are held accountable to that framework with their own instructional initiatives and what they develop for their staff in the way of professional learning throughout the year, and what they're focusing on. And so that is now part of the framework that they see. For students, there is an online course for students for which they can receive a certificate of completion also, which they may proudly display at an exit interview or to a future employer or whatever they want to do. Again, they're going to get classroom instruction that's naturally embedded within English, as well as that social studies course their freshman year. For parents, we have an online course for parents to gain that better understanding and awareness of all the topics associated with digital citizenship. I've also worked with Sam in communications department to coordinate what's going to be on a quarterly basis in newsletter format, additional ongoing education and awareness posts coming out of his office, so that the conversation still remains in the background and doesn't just kind of drop off and go away now that it's kind of, more part of our life. Thirdly, the website resources that were created, our website can be read in whatever language it can be translated to. So that's really great. And there's a ton of resources there for parents to access so that they can understand a little more technologically literate topics and better help support their students in all of the things that they're involved in terms of apps and YouTube and Fortnite and all kinds of things are referenced there, and guides for parents are there. So those are some of the things going forward that have been implemented and are coming up through the Innovate Ed relaunch. And it's just going to be more intentional. We are now more confident that we've examined this area and have developed several ways to create ongoing education and awareness around this topic, so that people really understand and are reminded with purpose that their online behaviors can affect their personal and professional lives. So that is basically the update and where we are.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gorman.
I'm trying to unshare. Do you have any questions or comments I can field?
Keep up the great work, Cheryl. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for putting that together, all those different modules. I know that's very time intensive, and crosswalking it, with the content, making it relevant. I think that's great.
Yes, that's often a challenge for teachers to, they want to know what's this look like in the classroom. And so our resources really tried to speak to that and show them that if you want to address this standard and infuse this skill, this is a method by which you may do that. So we really tried to hit on that. And I think it's a good thing.
No, that's great. Takes away some of that ambiguity that might be there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garman.
President Pickle, I have a quick informal update on our broadband access goal.
Sure.
We put out an RFQ about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and we have not received a response from any companies. So we will be going out and knocking on doors and making some phone calls to see if we can get a response to that. Little surprising that that happened in this environment when there are a number of companies that are going to be competing for the dollars to develop this. It is a state and federal conversation. I've had multiple meetings this last month from everyone from the city of Livingston to the lead for AT&T in the state, talking about how to do this, and no one really has their arms around this yet. That's what I've learned. And it's going to be a process. It's going to be much bigger than our district and county. It's an issue throughout California. And as far as I know, no one has yet come up with a efficient and effective plan. So that's where we are on that.
It is surprising that there hasn't been a response. Any idea why? Or has anybody alluded to why they're not
You guys
biting?
want to comment on that, Costa?
Yeah, I think that Superintendent Peterson just, nailed it on the head. There's so many competing dollars. I think that my opinion is that I think that you have the companies like Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile. I think they're all feeling each other out to see what the other is going to do. So I think it's a waiting game more so than anything else right now.
They're waiting to see if public entities like us are willing to invest, which then means they have to change their model of delivery. Mm-hmm. So it's not normal, and that's why I would like to see some state or federal, leadership on the rollout of this and what the options are going forward. But we will keep after it.
Well, thank you for following up on that. Okay. Any other questions, comments before we move on? Okay, we have summer school and online learning update. Dr. Aguilar.
Thank you, President Pickle, and good evening, everyone. Bear with me, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. So I'd like to give you a quick update to where we are with summer school. Just yesterday, we met with our summer school leaders on every campus. We met with our Director of Human Resources, and we discussed a variety of topics. We met with our Director of Transportation and Director of Food Services, and we got our bus schedules aligned following our summer school schedule. All information was given to our Director of Transportation, and all those unique routes or unique needs from every campus were shared. Same thing with our food services. We will be providing nutritional breaks and lunches for all of our students on every campus on a very similar schedule. We went through our staffing, classified staffing, and also our certificated staffing. It is my understanding that we have just a little bit over 200 certificated staff members that have expressed interest in teaching summer school. So that is very exciting. So sites are continuing to post positions as they're working with our Director of Human Resources with their needs. We are again looking at the 4 core areas, but then we've opened it up to other elective classes. We're asking that the sites have a minimum of 30 students per class. So typically what that means is, we want to recruit anywhere between 50 and 60 students, knowing that half of them just won't show up. I mean, that's just been historically what happens over the course of the last, 3 or 4 years that I've helped and assisted with summer school. So we're very confident that we're going to fill those. I also want to share that our migrant summer school program this year will be at El Capitan. Typically, it's been at East Campus. This year, it will be at El Capitan. One of the reasons is that our summer school principal is currently at El Capitan High School, and the other being that since every site is going to run their own program, we just needed some more space. Our comprehensive sites are just larger than what we have at East Campus. The course schedule, they're being posted. We're validating the need. Sites have the option to post all courses for remediation. And then really exciting news around our Math Summer Bridge program with our feeder schools. I've had the opportunity to meet with our South End schools, our larger feeders, and then just today, this morning, I met with our North End feeder schools, and we talked about the math placement exam, but even more importantly, the Math Summer Bridge program. We're going to hire one teacher to teach at a minimum in our Math Summer Bridge program this summer with 30 students in each class. I'm very, very confident with the information that we have out and the way that we've designed the course that we're going to get sufficient students to fill those courses. Some of those new requirements and new additions are students receiving 10 credits of elective credit. Students will be receiving a breakfast and a lunch. They get transportation to and from. They will get UC Merced information and opportunities with the potential of a field trip out to the campus, the socialization, and just the reacclimation of students being on a high school campus is another one of the assets of the program. So we're very excited about the direction that we're going. We'll meet one more time with all of our summer school team to ensure that everything is in order, but things are moving along very, very nicely with summer school. Any questions about summer school and where we are?
Adler, you mentioned the cap or the minimum at 30, correct? So, I mean, if we reach that or don't reach that, I mean, are we going to say, sorry, we're not going to offer that course? I mean, I'm just thinking in terms of the extra funding that we're receiving, would there be a rationale as to why we wouldn't offer a course? I mean, is 10 considered too low of a number? I'm just thinking of kids that may want to take advantage of these opportunities to take these other elective classes that they're not allowed to or can't fit in their schedule, aside from credit recovery and stuff like that, to support their needs. Our CP courses that we have going on, and then some of the instructors have come forward and said, hey, we want to conduct a course, but we're kind of being told put it on pause until we get these other credit recovery, learning loss type things taken care of first.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And next week, our sites are coming in to meet with our Director of Human Resources, Mandy Ballinger. So we've asked them today to make sure that they have a good plan in place and to make a justification if they do, for example, have a class that has 20 students. We're going to work with sites, and we're obviously, 20 students is better than no students, and we're not going to turn people down. We're going to work with our school sites. What we don't want is for us to have to hire a teacher and not have enough students, like 5 or 10 show up, and then have to tell the teacher, we're just not going to be able to run that class for 5 or 10, with 5 or 10 students. We're going to move them into another class, after a teacher has already made, plans to teach in the summer. So we want to be very careful of that, and we do want to be very prudent with, fiscally prudent about the way we're staffing. But we're going to work with all the sites. They've been out there. They'll be meeting with, like I said, Mandy Ballinger next week to discuss their plans. And we'll work with all the sites.
Dr. I have a similar question. I was wondering how we landed on 30 for class size as opposed to maybe smaller classes, just overall?
Yeah, so especially now that we're entering the red tier, when we initially started, it was 15. And because now we're entering into the red tier, and because CDC had recommended 3 feet instead of 6, we're able to get more students in on your typical average classroom, which is about 30 students. So 30 is kind of where we shoot for, but like I said, those classes could be, smaller, into the high 20s, or maybe into the low 30s, just depending on the need and the way, the numbers end up working out. So that's how that number came about.
It seems,
There's a historic no-show rate in summer school as well. So if you enroll 30, you're probably going to get 20 to 22 who are actually there once you get started, or they'll drop out after the first couple of days.
right.
So starting high usually means you don't end high.
But if we end up with the class that's 30 or low 30s, I mean, are we looking at maybe trying to pull someone else in to bring that number down? 30 seems like a lot, especially when you're really trying to distance, and if we want to, focus on learning loss, recovery, loss of skills, or whatever we want to call it, would a lower class size be more productive?
We also funding.
Yeah, we'll work with all the different sites. Again, 30 is that number. The classes could be smaller. We again want to make sure that we have sufficient students, to fill each class.
Well, I think if I'm not speaking for Richard or Tiffany, but interpreting what they said is, I think as a board group, we are excited about summer school opportunities and remediation and learning loss and recovery, and we would hate for numbers to be a reason why we don't offer classes. I think we want to take care of all of our students and give them every opportunity to get back on track. We have a lot of COVID funding in order to allow for that we don't normally have. So I think we should take advantage of and maximize it as much as possible. And
Yeah, it's understood. Numbers will not be an issue, but we have to start somewhere, and the loss of those who say they're going to be in summer school versus those that show up, that's real. And, so that's just our starting point. If a class is at 15 or 18, it's going to go.
I was going to say something similar to what Erin said, but she already said it. So about the numbers. So I'm going to go on to the next question. Dr. Aguilar, what in these days, and also for those that don't know, what is the difference between migrant summer school and just summer school?
So students, we have to provide additional services, layered services for our migrant students. And one of the ways in which we do that is through summer school for migrant students. In the migrant program, we offer opportunities for students to earn credits that they need to recover because perhaps they failed a class, and also for advancement, knowing that students are transient and they're moving from season to season. So the uniqueness of the program is that they get opportunities for advancement and also for remediation. And they have to be migrant students in our program so that we can show that we're providing those additional services that we need to provide to our students.
So how is a migrant student determined? So how are they qualified as migrant?
So typically students that come in and register are part of a migrant camp, for example, where parents are working in the fields and they're moving from community to community to work. Also, number of years in the country, would qualify students for migrant status.
All right, thank you.
So Dr. Aguilar, with some of our migrant students also being, qualifying as part of this credit recovery and learning loss stuff, are they better off attending the migrant program or better attending the MUHSD program, or, I mean, what's the pros and cons of them going to either program?
Yeah, they'll get additional support and services that we have to provide for our migrant students. So we have to show that not only do we offer a summer school program for all, but we're also offering above and beyond services for the migrant students, like additional help, like one-on-one help. So through this collaboration with Merced County Office of Education and the Central Valley Opportunity Center out of the Stanislaus County Office of Education, it's a combined joint effort between the three entities to provide that extra support and hiring extra personnel. For example, we're not able to do it this summer nor this past summer, but we've had teachers from Mexico come and help and support our students. That is one of those unique support systems that we have for our migrant students, as an example.
Now, but those programs run concurrent, is that correct?
That is correct.
So then if it's at LCAP, would migrant kids be able to take advantage of some of our courses? It's an elective or something at LCAP. Would they be able to take advantage of that program, or they'll just get support in the classes they're in for the migrant education program?
Yeah, so we're the other uniqueness of the migrant education program is that we can offer an array of classes that are offered in our regular special education program without having, the class sizes be an obstacle or concern. For example, we can have a teacher, for example, work with, 5 or 6 students, giving them, 5 or 8 different classes that they have access to because they're working with them individually.
Thank you.
I know we're offering summer school at every campus, but if we have, not enough students at one campus to make up a full class, but we have enough between 2 schools, would we consider offering that class? I feel like we've been really well coordinated in years past to make that happen, with our campuses collaborating and coming together. And so while I know the intent is to serve as many as possible, I want to make sure by offering it across campuses, we're not limiting what's available.
No, we've opened up and we've asked the sites to let us know where the teacher interests are. Like, for example, the number of teachers that have applied, where are the degrees, and is there a need? We've also talked about, combining classes, which is something that we do currently now. So say, for example, if you have, let's just say an Art 1 and an Art 2 class, let's say you only have 8, or 10, Art 1 students, and you have another 10 or 12 Art 2 classes, you can combine both of those students into one class and give them the same, during that period. That's something that we currently do now in our master scheduling at every site. So we're going to be very flexible that way and very, very creative to sometimes combine classes in order to be able to offer the class to our students.
In addition to, obviously the teachers have to match the need, but if you have 60 students at one campus and no teachers to offer math, what are you going to do about that?
So we'll move teachers from campus to campus. So if there's a need, let's say at Merced High School for more math teachers, and there are teachers at Atwater High School that perhaps weren't hired, or we need to move over, we'll do that. We'll move them from campus to campus so that we feel the need.
Okay. And summer school is still just remediation. There's no opportunity for advancement. Is that correct?
The way the MOU is written this year, we do have opportunities for advancement for our special education students. We have opportunities for our migrant education students, and our incoming students that are participating in our Math Bridge program are also getting elective credit, and that is also for advancement. So we have special groups that we've identified to ensure that we are providing opportunities for advancement.
Could we create an MOU? And I know it's time, now with our DTA people, as far as being able to offer those classes for advancements for those students, because we're going to have a population that will take advantage of that. that, I mean, we've been in MOU talks this whole year, because this past 14 months with everything that's been going on, that I think it's worthy of a discussion. That's just my opinion, to see, obviously, because we're paying additional funds for summer school teachers, you know, and they're increasing pay, to maybe have that dialogue and provide those kids those advanced opportunities.
Yeah, part of it too is maintaining the integrity of the programs. So for example, we've condensed summer school programs from 26 days to 20. And we've also cut down the hours from 4 hours in a class to 2 to give students more opportunities to recover credit. That is definitely something that we can, I think, look at in the future. I think our intent this year was to provide an opportunity for students to recover as many credits as possible, knowing the circumstances that we're in and the grades that we were seeing from our students. But offering a full year's worth of credit for a class in 20 days for 2 hours a day, I think we lose a little bit of that, or a lot of the integrity of the class. So we don't want to just start giving credit away for students. We want to make sure that we maintain the integrity of our programs as well.
Well, and I think on the flip side, though, when we're saying come for 20 days and you go make up your credit you missed all year long, you know, so I'm just trying to, you know, just counterattack that argument that, okay, well, that doesn't make sense to me either.
Yeah, there is a difference between, you know, advancement and the remediation, knowing that if a student is remediating, they've already sat in the classroom and they technically have the seat time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of flexibility through EdCode that we can do to recover that credit. When you talk about advancement, there are different rules that we need that govern that, and the amount of time, you know, for the classes that are being offered.
So that makes sense to me for like this summer, what you just explained, and I agree, we want to keep the integrity, and I know that kids can take classes at Merced College, and we're very appreciative for that partnership. But I would encourage, as we are negotiating with teachers moving forward, I just think it's unfortunate that we don't offer advancement opportunities for kids through our campuses during the summers. Perhaps not this summer, because this is, you know, COVID's, we need to focus on remediation. I can accept that. And again, there's an opportunity for Merced College. But I think moving forward in years to come, it's something that we should look at offering our students again.
Part of the reason that is in there and is really prohibited is there was a concern when we negotiated the 7-period day that we might at some point, if the kids are taking 7 periods a day and then have advancement in summer school available to them, then ultimately we would need less teachers, because kids would really be graduating or have enough units by early in their junior year. So that was one of the stipulations as we increased their opportunities during the school year, that those would be limited during the summer.
Yeah, it can still be difficult to get classes in.
Yeah.
I mean, even with 7 periods, but.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, Erin, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, we have a lot of kids going to Merced College and going that route. There's a fair amount of kids that are graduating after 3 years or after 3.5. I don't think we should stand in their way. And I thought the idea with the 7 periods was really to, you know, help with this career and technical exploration, so that either they had a better idea of what to study when they got to college, or they had some sort of certification as they graduated from high school so they could enter the workforce more easily. So by offering 7 periods, we give them the opportunity to take more of those classes. And I think, quite frankly, you know, if we have strong electives for kids to take, it's nice for them to get some things out of the way during the summer so that they can actually take and explore more options in high school.
And then, Dr. Aguilar, as far as I guess the recruitment effort to bring kids on board, I mean, just Mr. Shaw presented tonight that out of his, you know, almost 1,800 students, you know, he has about a third that have been coming consistently. Of that third that's been coming consistently, how many of those are there Obviously, either it could be for recovery or, to be part of the school system, or are there because they want to continue their education and just keep going forward, because that's going to make it's going to be a deciding factor as far as how many kids are going to be attending summer school. If 2/3 are staying home, and those could be our 2/3 of learning loss kids or credit recovery kids. And so how do we entice them then to come to summer school if they didn't already come to school for 14 months?
No, you're absolutely right, and that kind of goes to the staffing question as well, to make sure that, that if you, for your number, right, if you have that third of students that are coming and the 2/3 that are staying home, we want to make sure that even though we're inviting students and they may tell us, yeah, I'm coming, but day one they don't, that, we don't have empty classrooms. We just want to be prudent and with what we're doing, and we're going to constantly enroll students, especially now as we get closer to the second semester. We'll know more students, that have perhaps failed a class. So those numbers will continue to increase, unfortunately, like they do every year. So we'll be adding, and counselors are working now to add and sign up students. So we'll be signing students up until the very end, and hiring teachers as needed all the way to the very end. So we just keep monitoring that the enrollment and where we are, and it's something that we look at every week.
And I don't know the details of the summer contract, but if as a teacher, if I were to sign up and I'm going to teach 20 days, but then after 3-4 days, my class enrollment drops to 10, and you guys say, hey, sorry, you can't do it. Am I still going to get compensated for the 20 days or just for those 3 or 4 days that I taught?
So contractually, if let's say day one, you don't have any students, day two, you don't have any students, we have to pay you for that week.
Okay.
Contractually. So that's why we want to be really, really prudent and really, really careful with the number of teachers. Like if we start the school year and we know that we have to hire more teachers, we'll turn around and hire more teachers, even after, perhaps that we start. We don't want to do that, but, if we have more students show up than we're prepared for, we'll turn around and hire more teachers as needed.
Thank you.
In the second half, I'm sorry, are there any more questions? Sorry, Cheryl's been patiently waiting here for the second half of this presentation. So we'll hand it over to Cheryl Garman.
Thank you. I just want to give you a quick update on where we are with online learning and the pilot that is going on using the Edmentum platform, checking out that software. We've had, since we last spoke, we've had a couple of trainings in March with the Edmentum representatives and our teachers. There's a number, I have 8 pilot teachers in the program, and there's a number of IS teachers as well that joined in that training. The team has had an opportunity to collaborate and bounce ideas around and really poke holes in things and talk about what they're seeing and ask questions of those representatives to just really flesh out this online curriculum, which has been great. There's another opportunity tomorrow with an open call where they'll get to further dive in and look at some application practices with the software. Go ahead, next slide, please. I collected some testimonial feedback from some of the teachers that are participating, and there's, like with anything, kind of some mixed feedback. Mrs. Kale likes that there's critical thinking built in, that it's not just reading, finding answers. That was her comment. Mr. Callahan says that a lot of students have told him they appreciate that they can kind of go at their own pace and not sort of a lockstep kind of style that other online platforms students have experienced kind of make them do. They also liked getting explanations for things, whether they were right or wrong. There was further details and explanations. The students are noticing that. And Mrs. Whitley shared that it's easy for teachers and higher level students are fine, but she was not thinking it was appropriate for the struggling students, lower level students, which makes sense to me in students dealing with anything online program. If they're a struggling student, that's gonna be a struggle too. But it's all great feedback. They're really taking it seriously and trying to flesh out the properties of that program. The next steps for me with online instruction, as last we spoke, I talked to you about the design thinking process that we're using with an eye on the future and developing a possible alternative, online instructional opportunity. I will be convening a group of teachers in the coming week or two to really talk about, now that we've kind of talked about some curricular things with Admentum and the rest, that we're going to look at really the design of online instruction and best practices around that and what that looks like, just to kind of further flesh out. It would be the ideate brainstorm phase of the process, and so that's where we're going next.
Thank you, Mrs. Garman. Just one question. Do other math teachers feel the same way about the Admentum maybe being a little challenging for some of the struggling students?
Mrs. Whitley is my only math teacher in the pilot program, so that is the only math feedback I've officially gotten.
But if it turns out that it is, there'll be maybe some other resources that will be available to help those kids.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. I don't think that we are device agnostic, right? And so we are platform agnostic too, and we would utilize the best tools or resources for the best kinds of students. And it's not a one size fits all in the software realm either.
Thank you. Okay. If there are no other questions, then we can move on to the next item. Dr. Aguilar again, UC Merced Automatic Admissions Program.
All right, thank you. Hopefully everyone's seeing my screen. On March 15th, we had a press conference at El Capitan High School to really present a really unique opportunity for all of our students with what we're calling the Merced Automatic Admissions Program. And this is work that we've done in collaboration with UC Merced. And this is really a great partnership that we have begun to establish with Chancellor Munoz from UC Merced and our Superintendent Peterson. And it really mirrors the relationship that we have been able to foster with also President Vitelli at Merced College. During that March 15th meeting, Superintendent Peterson shared a meeting that he and I were both a part of with Chancellor Munoz and members of his cabinet, and he shared his vision. Part of that vision is to increase the population enrollment at UC Merced by 6,000 students to 15,000 students, right? They're currently over 9,000. He wants to increase it to 15 by 2030. So he posed several questions and wanted, obviously to know why more students that are in his front yard in the Merced Union High School District were not attending. So we discussed, we had a great conversation, and then we went our separate ways. And then Jill Orcutt and Dustin Noji from UC Merced, who are part of the admissions program. Director Jill Orcutt oversees the admissions program. Dustin Noji is the director for admissions. And myself and my team met, and I proposed to them an idea of an automatic admissions program that mirrored what happened at UC Riverside when they were a very young campus. We fleshed out some details. We went back and forth. They presented it to their faculty senate, to their department deans, ultimately got approval from Chancellor Munoz, and this is what we've come up with. We've come up with criteria for our students to be able to take courses, 15-year-long A through G courses, receive nothing lower than a 3.5 with no grade lower than a C for automatic admissions. And let me make clear, this does not mean that if you don't have a 3.5 or greater that you're not going to get in. This just means that you're going to be guaranteed a spot at UC Merced in a UC system school. Some of the data that I shared this morning with Cabinet that I would also like to share with you, just to give you an idea of the total number of students that would currently qualify for this program in our district. because we've entered into this partnership with UC Merced and have been really good partners with the UC Merced Center for Educational Partnerships, have a relationship and a contract with the Chancellor's Office in Oakland, the UC Chancellor's Office for the transcript evaluation system. So we're getting constant data from them. We're uploading data to share with them so that we get some really good data and information about our students. Some of that data includes the numbers I want to share with you. We currently have 518 juniors. 518 juniors out of approximately 2,500 juniors. That's about 20% of our students that would automatically qualify right now today if they wanted to go to UC Merced. That's 518. That's a phenomenal number. To give you a breakdown of the schools, Atwater High School would have 79 students eligible. UHAC Colony would have 94 students eligible. El Capitan would have 103 students eligible. Golden Valley would have 99. Livingston would have 65, and Merced would have 78. Those are pretty impressive numbers, and as you can see, and these are numbers that I definitely want to share with our community. As parents are looking at different schools in our school system, these numbers mirror, the populations of all of our campuses. There isn't one campus that completely jumps out and is way ahead of all the other campuses. So this, to me, when I share this data, shows me that we're doing an incredible job on all of our campuses to get our students ready. Our plan is, as you can see here, is to reach out to our current juniors now, have them apply for this admissions program, then get accepted, right? And we already know these numbers are. They've shared with us the data. These are the students we want, right? They apply, come the fall of this upcoming year, they'll apply for UC Merced as seniors, and they will be automatically admitted because they've met all the criteria. Now, these 518 students that I shared with you have zero deficiencies. They have met every single criteria. They're A through G on track. They have nothing lower than a C. There could be other students that maybe they haven't taken all their science yet, or they haven't taken all their math yet, or they haven't taken one of the requirements. So these numbers could go up even more, but this at least gives you a snapshot of where we are. So throughout this process, the whole goal is to prepare our students to be college and career ready. Our goal is to ensure that our students are staying local, to grow our own local talent so that it stays in our community and not go away. So I think we've met in a very, very impressive goal, and this is something that I see continuing to grow moving forward.
Yeah. So, Dr. Aguilar, as you mentioned, there might be some kids that could be on track, but maybe they just need, a little help with the selection of the courses, going into their senior year. So are counselors working, are they filtering through and getting a list of those kids and working with them this spring as they're setting up their schedules and letting them know, hey, if you take A, B, and C, you could very well have admission to UC Merced before they get into their senior year and kind of miss those deadlines?
Yes, and what's really nice about the partnership that we have now with the Chancellor's Office is that it takes a lot of the guessing game away. This is official data from our UC system, right? So they will give you the students that are missing one class, two classes, three classes. We get all of that data, and then we can easily share that to our counselors. And this is something that they've had to do, on their own. So this is, entering this agreement that has other strings attached to it, like, an agreement with the Chancellor's Office. It's just a win-win for both of our organizations. For us, not just because of our students getting an opportunity to be admitted to UC Merced, but the data sharing that we're able to do that's clean and good data that we don't have to guess, right? The anxiety has all been eliminated and alleviated because this is what we're getting from them.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your work in putting that partnership together. I'm sorry, Erin, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry to cut you off. It's hard when we're not in the same place, right? How, Costa, does this work with Gateway Scholars?
So this is the same. It's pretty much the same. So if you have students that are qualifying for Gateway Scholars, they would qualify for this. This is just another layer on top of what we're already doing. Yeah, and Gateway Scholars was really restricted to the Merced area. This is open to all of our students in our district.
So is there still a counselor or a representative from UC Merced on one of our campuses or more that's also helping with this?
Yes, their services have been pulled back because of COVID. But yes, they're still on our campus, and something that I'm not sure if I remember if I mentioned, but the students that are going into that summer math bridge program, another one of the advantages that they're going to get is that they're going to get another counselor, a counselor from the UC Merced Center for Educational Partnerships that is going to track and follow them throughout their 4 years to ensure that they stay on track, and if they need support, that they get that needed support.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, if there are no other questions, we can move on. And Dr. Aguilar, if you're going to wrap it up for us, LCAP update.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Close this up and open another window. Please bear with me. Let's try this now. Update and present. Okay, I wanted to give you an update of where we are with our local control accountability plan. We do have our community forum scheduled for April 20th next week. Invitations are being sent out. I'm working with, our team is working with Mr. Iniguez, our CIO, or Chief Information Officer, to get information out to all parents and community members to attend this meeting. During the April 20th meeting, we will discuss all the input that we've received, make final additions not already made. So after we share the data, if there's anything that has not already been mentioned, we'll provide one last opportunity for stakeholders to provide the input. Then we will have our second community forum on May 4th. During the May 4th meeting, we will discuss what we tentatively will and anticipate being included into our local control accountability plan, so that there is a very transparent process for that. After the May 4th meeting, we'll have an executive summary that will be written along with the 3-year local control accountability plan. So this is a big year for us because it is a 3-year plan that we will write and we will amend as we go in the next few years. But we're within that cycle of starting a new plan. I did want to share very quickly where we are with our current goals. So these are the current goals that we have. Something that has been recommended and something that we will consider strongly is to consolidate some of these goals that we currently have here and narrow them down. They're all good. We're looking not to eliminate them, but maybe consolidate some of the goals. So that is something that we anticipate sharing throughout the community forums, and then also something that we will bring to the board for their consideration in our June open forum meeting. Currently, we're making continued progress in all of these 8 goals and all of these 8 areas, and we really look forward to our meeting here next week and finally get this LCAP written into a written form. I do want to add that Cheryl Garman is the pin for this year's local control accountability plan. What that means is typically whomever is writing it, the first year I did it, and then it was followed by Director Glass. This year it will be Cheryl Garman. The power behind the pin is that you really set the tone with the language that you use within the local control accountability plan. So this gift has been bequeathed to Program Administrator Cheryl Garman, and I say that tongue in cheek. So any questions about our local control accountability plan or where we are with our current goals?
Are we looking to have this be a virtual meeting also then?
Yes, this will be a virtual, the next 2 will be virtual meetings, yes.
is there a rationale as to why we can't have one of those like in person, especially now that we, you know, I mean, not a lot of people attend them. You know, so I'm thinking in terms of, you know, having an actual audience in you know.
My rationale, quite frankly, is that we get more people right now attending virtually than we do in person. So especially with the community forums where you have Livingston, Atwater, and Merced parents. So if you have it in Atwater, you'll get an abundance of Atwater parents, but not very many from Livingston and Merced. If you have it in Merced, it's the same thing. If you have to go to Livingston, you'll only get Livingston parents. So one of the things that I've found, and even moving forward, is we're not going to get rid of virtual meetings. So it will be a blend of both, is what I'm getting at, just for greater participation.
And then are you thinking of following up with, I mean, will kid or student feedback be a part of this and they be invited also, as you did your last one with students in attendance?
Yeah, so students have provided feedback. We do have their feedback already recorded, and we will invite students to attend the community forum.
And there's one for staff feedback as well?
I'm sorry?
One for staff feedback as well?
The first community forum, it'll be for, I mean, these next two are for everyone.
But is there one specific for staff and students, or they're just part of the community?
Yeah, at the community forums, everyone's included now. We've had previously we've broken them up into groups. These next two are for everyone to attend, together.
So those have already occurred?
Yes.
Those specific ones, okay, I got you, thank you.
And then as far as your 8 goals, Dr. Aguilar, are there some that you're already thinking of, maybe like how they would mesh together?
I've had those conversations with my team. I have not presented them to cabinet yet officially. But we're strongly considering how we would consolidate some of these, and our next step is, of course, after the April 20th meeting, that we get the final feedback, that then we bring those to cabinet and discuss within cabinet what we want to do. And ultimately, Superintendent Peterson will give us direction, and ultimately the board will decide, in June what we do or don't do.
Because I agree with you. 8 goals. I mean, it's worth accomplishing, but that's a lot of goals. It's maybe tying in some of those actions and services that are going to help us reach the goal versus having 30 goals and then accomplishing a little bit of each at a time. So I'm good with that. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, thank you, Dr. Aguilar. Thank you, Mrs. Dorman. Okay, next we have Employee Association comment period. And we do have comments from both associations. I'll read CSEA first. Good evening, President Pickle and board members, Mr. Peterson, and cabinet. CSEA is happy to play a big part for our students to return to learn and have a safe environment to be in when away from home. On April 15th, the negotiation team will be meeting with the district to work out the terms of summer school to find the best way to serve our students. We were very happy to see that the district typed out our Sunshine Survey. This gives the community the opportunity to see what we will be negotiating at the table. We are hoping at the end of the negotiation, we will have a better contract, giving the classified employees that are highly qualified for the position the opportunity to be promoted, and that we hire the highly qualified from our community to serve and meet the needs of our students. MUHSD District is setting the trend for the best education and outstanding employment. Respectfully, CSEA Executive Board. Thank you, CSEA. Next, we have BTA. President Pickle, board members, Superintendent Peterson, and cabinet. In March, we expressed our appreciation for the willingness of district leadership and the board to work with our Teachers Association to protect our most vulnerable teachers and to provide the best education for our students that we can during this pandemic. With our next round of negotiations, we hope that this productive partnership can continue to grow, even though we will be discussing issues such as salary and health benefits. In keeping this brief, I will close with a preemptive reminder of the tremendously creative and time-consuming work that our members have continued to perform during a time when our jobs seem to change every 2 weeks. Sincerely, MUHS-DTA. Thank you. Okay, before we approve the consent agenda, Mrs. Ham, do you want to read the donations? I think she might be frozen. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the consent. We'll come back to that. So for the consent, we're pulling item 14.10. Is that correct? Okay. Is there a motion to approve with that amendment?
I'll make a motion to approve with that amendment. Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motions, John.
Thank you, John. Okay, we'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Aaron's still frozen, huh? Uh-oh.
I'm an aye, Mrs. Rohrbach.
She's on the move. She's on the move.
Got, kicked out.
Sorry, I'm an I also, having connection issues.
Thank you, Mrs. Ham.
Just a real quick note on that as we're finishing up. We are not doing the project. We just need more time to go through all of the bids and the paperwork.
Yeah.
So it will be coming back to you. So anybody who just heard that get pulled, that does not mean we are not doing the project this summer. We still plan to get it done.
Good response. Thank you
Yeah,
for clearing
thank you,
that up.
Dr. Weimer. Okay, motion carries 4-1. All
I
right.
just want to see if Aaron can read off the,
Yeah, are you in a position to do that, Aaron?
oh, she closed it.
To read those? Okay, we can come back to that then. Okay, no problem.
Can you now?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Are you in a position to read those? Do you have them in front of you?
She's freezing again.
I can read them, but I can hear you guys well. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you now.
No. Maybe someone else
Oh.
should read them.
Yeah, I'll come back and read
Okay,
those maybe
here we
after.
go. Special thank you.
Okay, you're freezing, Aaron.
Okay,
We can come back to
sorry.
that and read them. Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Okay, our first item is certificated assignments. Mrs. Ballinger.
Good evening, President Pickle and fellow board members. Education Code 4425.7 allows certificated employee to teach out of his or her area of certification with approval of the Board of Trustees if the individual has completed 20 clock hours of first aid instruction appropriate to the specific sport being coached, and this now includes band PE. The 6 teachers on the attached list meet the requirements of Ed Code 44258.7. They are currently assigned to teach outside of their area of certification. These teachers represent 1.2 FTEs. The superintendent recommends the approval of the teachers on the attached list being assigned to teach out of their area of certification in accordance with the Education Code 44258.7.
I move to approve.
Second it.
Is there any discussion on the item? Okay, we'll call for the vote then, Mrs. Rohrbach, please. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 10-20, Classified School Employee Week. Mrs. Ballinger.
May 16th through 22nd, 2021 is established as Classified School Employee Week. Classified employees are honored statewide for their contribution to public schools. A proposed resolution declaring May 16th through 22nd, 2021 as Classified School Employee Week in the Merced Union High School District is attached. This resolution would honor and draw attention to the many efficient, hardworking, and dedicated classified employees in our district who give of themselves every day for the young people and to help the district run more smoothly. The superintendent recommends the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 10-20, declaring May 16th through 22nd, 2021 as Classified School Employee Week.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second? I'm sorry, I think the second came from Aaron. Okay. Any discussion? And we'll call for the vote, please. Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Oh, next, well, you're on here a lot, Mrs. Ballinger. Okay, we have Mrs. Ballinger again with resolution 11-20, Day of the Teacher.
May 4th, 2021 is established as California Day of the Teacher. Teachers are honored statewide for their contribution to public schools. A proposed resolution declaring May 4th, 2021 as Day of the Teacher in the Merced Union High School District is attached. This resolution would honor and draw attention to the teachers in our district who give of themselves every day for the young people and their commitment to excellence in our schools. The superintendent recommends the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 11-20 declaring May 4th, 2021 as California Day of the Teacher.
So moved.
I'll second and thank all Merced Union High School District employees and especially the teachers that have gone above and beyond this past year for sure.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the item? We'll call for the vote, please.
I'm waiting for Mrs. Hams and she just disappeared. So I'm just gonna mark not president vote so we can go ahead. Or you wanna wait a minute?
I think that's right. Are you there, Aaron?
She's not on the screen.
No, I think we can probably continue. It'll be fine. Okay. Motion carries 4-0. All right, next we have initial proposals for 2021-22 negotiations. Mrs. Ballinger.
The Education Employment Relations Act, EERA, requires the district and its bargaining units sunshine their initial proposals prior to commencing negotiations. The sunshine process is described in Government Code Section 3547. The district is required to present its initial proposal at a public meeting to enable the public to become informed and have the opportunity to express public comment. Following such public comment, the governing board must adopt the district's initial proposal at a subsequent public meeting. That's tonight. The current contract between the district and the DTA will expire on June 30th, 2021. And we did add additional information for you on the each of the items tonight for this. So please consider the sunshine of the identified interests of the MUHSD. Article 11, work year and hours of work. Article 15, unit member evaluations. Article 22, fringe benefits. Article 23, remuneration. In addition, MUHSD holds an interest in examining the MOU regarding the date T4S observation instrument and also eliminating any expired MOUs from the contract. Please consider the sunshine of the identified interests of the MUHS DTA. Article 13, class size and counseling load. Article 20, progressive discipline. Article 22, fringe benefits. Article 23, remuneration. The MUHS DTA also seeks a STRS Golden Handshake retirement incentive to be added. And then the parties mutually agree to include in the body of the collective bargaining agreement the existing MOUs where applicable. The superintendent recommends the Board of Trustees approve the district proposals as sunshine for the 2021-22 negotiation process with MUHS DTA.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
You have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, John. Any discussion on the item?
There's a timeline to get this done, right? Like 2 months, 3 months? I'm just kidding, just kidding, just kidding.
I can't tell when you have that math.
All right, we'll go ahead and call for the vote then, please.
Leslie, this is Erin. I'm an I. I'm really having some technical difficulties, so I'm trying to get my computer to respond again, but
Okay, thank you. I'll record your vote.
Might want to just keep your video off, Aaron, and maybe it'll be more stable.
Motion carries 5-0. Next, we have MUHSD and CSEA initial proposal for 2021-22 negotiations. Mrs. Ballinger.
The Education Employment Relations Act, EERA, requires the district and its bargaining units to sunshine their initial proposals prior to commencing negotiation. The sunshine process is described in Government Code Section 3547. The district is required to present its initial proposal at a public meeting to enable the public to become informed and have the opportunity to express public comment. Following such public comment, the governing board must adopt the district's initial proposal at a subsequent public meeting. The current contract between the district and CSEA will expire on June 30th, 2021. Please consider this sunshine of the identified interests of the MUHSDTA. Article 13, employment, promotion, classification, probation, assignment, and transfer. Article 14, evaluation, disciplinary action, and hearing. Article 16, health benefits. Article 17, remuneration. Please consider this sunshine of the identified interests of CSEA. Article 12, conditions of employment. Article 13, employment, promotion, classification, probation, assignment, and transfer. Article 14, evaluation, disciplinary hearing, discipline action and hearing. Article 15, leaves. Article 16, health benefits. Article 17, remuneration. And Article 21, complaint process. The superintendent recommends the Board of Trustees approve the district's proposal as sunshined for the 21-22 negotiation process with CSEA.
So moved.
Second.
I second.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion on the item? Okay, we'll call for the vote, please. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, next we have acceptance of the annual financial audit report with Dr. Weimer.
Education Code Section 41020.3 states each school district's governing board shall review at a public meeting the annual audit of the school district for the prior year. Audit exceptions identified in the audit and recommendations of findings of any management letter issued by the auditor and any descriptions of corrections or plans to correct any exceptions or management letter issued. Merced Union High School District's annual financial audit report through June 30th, 2020 was completed by the firm Eddie Bailey. There were no material weaknesses identified and no significant deficiencies were reported. No findings were reported for financial statements or federal awards. Under state compliance, one finding noted that there was an oversight at one school site where one category of the facility inspection tool did not match what was recorded on the school accountability report card. And they did note that that was a technical error. There is no question cost associated, and a recommendation was made to have a review performed before the site posts their SARC annually. Superintendent recommends the Board of Trustees accept the annual financial audit report through June 30th, 2020. And if you notice, for probably the first time, I think, there is no listing of associated student body findings.
Yay.
Audit ever.
Yes.
Mr. Honey would be proud.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's
I'll make a
remarkable. Yep.
Yes.
Thank you to our many student body secretaries.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Richard, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the audit.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the item?
No, I think just to reiterate, a great job by everyone. I know a lot of the work was done from their offices in Fresno, and a lot of uploading of documents was probably done and shared up to them. So just a lot of behind the scenes work that had to be done. Great job, I think, overall, to have no financial any financial documentation noted as a finding. It just speaks volumes of the work that all of our sites have been doing. So thank you very much for all the work.
Yes, very well said.
Thank you, and I do want to thank Sonia Garcia and Laura Aguilar for the great job that they do with that, along with all of the bookkeepers that work at our sites to make sure that those things happen. And it was so fun that the auditors are already back this week. For next year, for this current year.
Lucky you.
Great job, Mr. Weimer and team, Dr. Weimer and team.
Thank you. Okay, we'll call for the vote there, Mrs. Rohrbach. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Next, we have the bid award for the Atwater High School Visitor Bleacher Replacement Project. Mr. Calderon.
President Pickle, on April 8, 2021, Merced Union High School District opened bids for the Atwater High School Visitor Bleacher Replacement Project. Of the 5 competitive bids, MUHSD did receive a low, responsive, and responsible bidder, and that was from JPAC Construction in the amount of $1,269,521. The superintendent recommends the board award the project Atwater High School Visitor Bleacher Replacement to the low, responsive, and responsive bidder, JPAC Construction, in the amount of $1,269,521.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the item?
Gonna have to sell a lot of tickets for payback on this one.
Yeah, and just a quick, we will normally send it to you the way that you have been accustomed to receiving it. But as we begin to fire more projects up, sometimes we're pressed for time, but we don't want to waste another month. So when this gets published, we're still in the process of trying to vet them to make sure that they can do what they actually said that they're going to do. That's why the packet was incomplete.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. And I see in one of our next presentations that what was estimated was 1.6 million. So is this, we'll just round up to 1.3, even though it's significantly less than that. But is that the anticipated total amount, or are there more costs to be involved?
Well, right now, we're starting at ground zero, so that is what they bid for that project.
Okay.
We did estimate it at a little bit more, so it's just been I don't know, I don't want to jinx this, but it's been a pleasant surprise, the bids that we've been receiving on our projects.
However, inspection fees that are our responsibility are not part of the bid.
Okay. And who was the company that did Livingston?
That was Harris Builders.
Okay. So they didn't even bid our project.
They did not.
Okay. Interesting. And for bleachers for Merced High, has that gone out to bid?
Yeah, phase two is it Taylor Backhoe Services, Melissa?
Oh, that's right. Okay. Okay.
Does this project cover does this project cover the existing footprint, or is there going to be an expansion of the bleachers?
No, the bleachers will basically be from foul pole to light pole to light pole. There's a lot of projects in my head right now. It will also be the path of travel, which is required to meet ADA standards, and it will resolve a long-standing problem. We're going to curve the fence line of the stadium, so that hopefully it won't be as precarious for our students that are crossing at that point. It won't be a glut. It's been a while probably since you've dropped a student off at Atwater High School, but that becomes a very problematic area.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? No, I'll call for the vote then, please.
You might have owned Mrs. Pickle. Good job.
Outstanding.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. All right, last item, we have the planned facility project, Series F, Measure M bond funds with Mr. Calderon.
The graduation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See, I jinxed you.
You did. I'd already
Susan, I'm gonna
put
go
a line
faster.
through it,
I'm
okay.
going faster now.
My apologies. Let me back up one. Revision to board policy, 6146.1, the high school graduation requirements with Dr. Aguilar.
Thank you. I understand my airtime is up, but I.
We'll grant you a few more minutes.
All right. The Merced Union High School District understands there are many circumstances beyond our students' and families' control, which may prohibit them from meeting the Merced Union High School District graduation requirements. Therefore, beginning with the class of 2021, the superintendent recommends the superintendent or designee may waive district graduation requirements in excess of the state minimum requirements due to state or federal natural disasters, pandemic, or other unforeseen circumstances. Special education program students must get permission through the individual education plan process, which includes a signature from the site administrator and approval from the principal. All other students must receive written permission from the superintendent's designee to earn the waiver. The superintendent brings before the Board of Trustees revision to board policy 6146.1, high school graduation requirements for a first reading with possibility of adoption.
Does anyone oppose waiving the second read? Okay.
Just curious how many exceptions we're talking about and how extreme the exceptions are or not.
Well, a lot of districts are doing this as a blanket coverage this year, and we did not want to do that. It's very individual based. We will have a number of special education students, but from a regular ed perspective, I don't anticipate a whole lot, but there will be some.
Okay, I just really want to make sure we're not watering down what a diploma means, and that, you know, if there's a chance for a student perhaps to graduate, but then do remediation for a class during the summer to actually earn the diploma, that they would be honor bound to do that or something along those lines. But anyway, otherwise I'm fine with it.
This is Sam. This is Costa.
Sorry, this is Costa. You know, this is something that we talked about today, and when we met with our principals for summer school, the topic came up of seniors or students not meeting the requirement. So as we see there's a need, we're going to do everything we possibly can to get students to go into either our summer school program or Merced Adult School, which is what we typically do. But there are always those human things that have just happened through COVID that just, you know, we want to be humanistic about. So that's what this policy, this spirit.
Okay. Absolutely fair enough. Thank you.
And just one other addition, there is a state minimum, which we don't have the ability to go below. So this is only district requirements that can be waived. You can't waive state requirements.
So in this process, like, what does this process look like? So if I'm a senior now and I'm not meeting the requirements to graduate, and I say, well, I'm going to file a form and it's going to go up to the principal or the site administrator, and then we have a discussion, or they say, let's look back at your counselor contacts. They reached out to you X amount of times, you didn't get back to them, you filled this process, we offered you this. I mean, I just want to be sure that we are all, that have all our supporting documents that justify the rationale to or not to approve a student graduating.
Right. So even now, to your point, so when a student wants to graduate early, what happens? This is the process that we have now. So the student goes to the site counselor. The site counselor then informs either Brandy or Gina Lance, who are scholarship and college counselors. They meet with the student, and then they meet with me. All of us meet. The parent, the student, Gina or Brandy, and myself. We meet. We have a memo of that just basically summarizes, the discussion points. Are you sure? If you change your mind, this is what you do. Make sure you have your FAFSA. All the crossing of the T's and dotting the I's. I see this being a very similar process.
Okay.
So, for example, if a student is so far behind, with let's say 10 classes, we're not going to say here's a waiver, right? We're going to want to get that student into summer school or do everything we can now. However, there are students that maybe fall short maybe one class, and the student saying, hey, I'm moving. I'm going to Kansas, or hey, I've got to go to work. There's no way I'm going to be able to make this, class up. Whatever that human element is, we want to make that exception.
Yeah,
So there's a process that we have in place that I'm very confident that we'll follow for this policy.
Because I know, as Trustee Hammond mentioned in previous meetings, we have those students that, for financial purposes, the pandemic and parents possibly losing their jobs, whatever else, but you know what, school's not my priority right now. And they could be, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 units behind. Hey, Dr. Aguilar or whomever, I'd like to have a meeting with you. These are the reasons why I chose to not complete school. Would we give that kid a pass then? Or say, you know what, we understand the circumstances and we will or we won't?
It's a case-by-case basis, and that's why they would end up meeting with myself and having that discussion.
And there's a very clear AR for administrators to follow.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Is that something go ahead, Julio.
I was just gonna say, that was my question as well when I talked to Alan earlier. Just, we're gonna go case by case and just look at each case individually. And that was clarified.
Maybe we could get a little bit more information on that later, just in terms, I know it's case by case, so you can't really, outline it specifically because there's such a uniqueness to it, but maybe just some information on what that appeal process is. Who's making the decisions, like you said, you go to a committee, and then maybe some baseline criteria that would speak to what we're going to approve or not approve.
And just maybe to prolong this, but why not, right? Last year we had 32 students that graduated early, and I know that because I met with every single one of them and I have their paperwork. The year after it was 19, or this year is 19. So that just kind of gives you an idea, of those exceptions sometimes, of a district of about 11,000. So I don't anticipate even those numbers being that high, but you just never know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to waiving the second read? Okay, then I'll call for a motion to reflect that then.
Do we have a motion already or not yet? No.
Did we?
Yeah, no, there's
No, I
no.
don't think so.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve and waive the second reading.
Okay, thank you.
I second the motion.
Thank you. We'll call for the vote then. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, now we have the last action item, the planned facility projects, Series F Measure M bond funds with Mr. Calderon.
President Pickle, on January 20th, 2021, the board approved the issuance of Series F Measure M bonds in order to ensure that the funds are being spent according to the Measure M requirements. The board approval is requested to move forward with the planned facility project. We brought to you a report last month that identified potential projects that would meet the Measure M bond requirements, but also would help the district in its goal of standardizing of facilities, equity and equality of facilities, and safety and functionality of facilities. The superintendent recommends approval for the use of Series F Measure M bond funds to execute the design and construction of the following planned facility projects. They are included on the slide number 4. It's the ones that we reviewed in the report last month.
So move. Oh, did you make the recommendation? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
it.
all right, good. Okay.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Any discussion or questions?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. The pools for Merced and Atwater High, are these to match the footprint of Golden Valley and Buhack and El Cap, or what is proposed here?
Well, we're still in the pre-planning and we're gathering ideas from the site. Certainly we want to make them equitable, but if they can be improved, and you know, if there can be some easy fixes, some things that didn't work, that don't add an overwhelming cost to the project, then I think we're open to that.
Yeah, they're not going to be exactly the same, if that's your question.
Okay, so what size pools are we talking about here?
Right now, it's the 25
years by 30.
That's correct. It's 30.
The size is going to be the same as Golden Valley and Buhack, but the design might not be exactly the same.
Okay. And has any consideration been put into either or both of these pools being 50 meter as opposed to 30 meter, which then makes it Olympic size and more standard of well, Clovis, if we could ever hope to be like Clovis, all of their pools, even their middle school pools are 25 yard by 50 meter.
Yeah, I don't want to be like Clovis, but I totally get your point. And I'm glad you brought that up because I have engaged a few community members that really think that is a great idea and that we should do that. The cost for that is at least $2 million more. Per pool. We did have this discussion at the cabinet level and, you know, felt that if the board wanted to move forward with that, it would be wise to do that at one site and not both. But you're going to hear tonight, Mrs. Ham, you know, the most conservative comments around that. And I'll let Mr. Calderon or Mr. Weimer, who has dealt with this firsthand, comment further.
Yes, Mrs. Ham, we've received a lot of just basically comments like, why would you want to do this? Why is there a need to have a facility like this? Do you really understand what the excess cost would be? These are comments from our architects.
Right. Some of the extensive costs would be in maintenance, the continuous maintenance of the pools also. So that's always also been considered. You know, so, you know, we just want to make sure that, again, we're just being really prudent with the funds. And of course we do as the site and the board says, so with the funds that we have.
And Mrs. Ham, honestly, it really hasn't been a drum that any of our swimming coaches have been beating. They I think are thrilled with the sizes of the Golden Valley and Buhack, again with a few modifications, but there hasn't been that clamor for a 50-meter pool.
And I would, you know, the flip side of that is it would bring, you know, if not certainly local, if not regional or even national competition to our sites. You know, so I certainly understand some community members' thoughts on this. You know, but from a cost point of view and a feasibility point of view, that's not our recommendation tonight. However, if the board wants to go down that road, and that doesn't need to be decided tonight on how big the pool is going to be, but that certainly can be discussed. So
one of the things that they have really been hopeful of is having used Golden Valley and BUHAC for several years now. The issue that they say is there's just a little bit short to be able to do practices while a game or an event is actually going on. So their issue is if we had two additional lanes, possibly three, that would solve a lot of the issues that they think they have with the BUHAC and the Golden Valley pool and make it a lot more useful for high school practices. And so we are looking into the expenses of a 2 to 3 lane extension, which could be up to 5 meters.
So
Got
the
it.
cost-
So go ahead.
No, go ahead, Erin.
Well, I mean, thank you for providing all of those details and that information, because I do know that there is some community desire to have a 50-meter Olympic size pool for the various reasons that Alan said, and to give our kids some greater opportunities in our community in general. But, you know, $2 million is a lot of money that, for instance, can buy portables at Golden Valley, or, you know, all these different things. So I understand. And yet I appreciate what you just said, Scott, about, you know, maybe we can't get to 50, but if we go to 35, then we make the pools more useful as they are today, and just setting us up for learning from what we currently have and making our structure better is much appreciated.
The estimated cost that we have in front of us for those, that is just the cost of the pool. It's not the cost of moving tennis courts or any of those embedded in there.
Right, there's extensive cost involved, and you know, for the most part, this is an estimated cost, and so you do have project development with your inspection fees, design fees, and all those different elements involved in this process. And you know, this is based off of our previous construction of BUHAC and Golden Valley, and we more or less doubled that because we know as time goes along, then construction costs rise. So, you know, this is very preliminary, very conceptual.
But the demolition cost is in the review.
Yeah, we do have initial drawings, and we do know where the placements are potentially going to be, even with the outbuildings. And none of those include moving other things like tennis courts or whatever. It goes into grass area or in the parking lot area. Which would become part of the project. It doesn't go and move tennis courts.
Okay, thank you.
On any of these various projects, do we have community members at all involved, whether it's at Merced, Atwater, Livingston, East Campus? I mean, some of them probably don't necessarily merit that, but I just wonder if that would be appropriate. Yeah.
We do have a committee that oversees some of our Measure M bond funds, and that consists of community members. And so these projects also go through them. It's also reviewed by them, and they more or less represent, you know, Atwater High School, Merced High. Some are parents, some are prior staff of the district. So, you know, there is
I
that
meant
involved.
more specifically, if we're working on a gym project, do we have some volleyball and basketball folks involved? If we're working on a pool, do we have aquatics people? If we're working on the tracks that are in here, do we have track folks involved? And beyond just the single coach or multiple coaches for, at the pool, because I think that expertise is invaluable and will help us for making mistakes or woulda, coulda, shouldas, small things that just were oversight. So I'm requesting that we have some community members involved in some of these projects, not to change, what the color scheme is, but some other more fundamental items.
Yeah, I understand what you're asking for, and the direct answer is no, Aaron, not in the last few months. We did go through the process. It was last fall, I believe, with Mr. Wallstrom and collecting that community feedback. And there is a component going forward, working with our 5-year facilities plan. That's actually a big component of what they do is getting the community feedback. But I think what you're asking for is the expertise from folks outside of the school community that are involved in basketball or volleyball or aquatics. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, and from the perspective of not only how can it be hyper functional for our schools, but if there's some minor thing that if we just did this, it would make it so much better to accommodate the youth programs in our community or whatnot. I just would wish that we would listen to that kind of feedback, not just we need a new pool, we need a new track, but I don't know whether specific would.
Yeah, we know who to reach out to there. We can do that for these projects.
Perfect. Thank you.
If there are no other comments or questions, we'll go ahead and call for the vote.
I just want to add that I'm really excited that the district has the money that we can do some of these things. And I mean, of course, whatever they get at Merced and Atwater, those pools have been there anyway since inception or who knows what. But they've had a very long life, well beyond their years.
Yeah,
I can speak for everyone here. The district is excited as you are.
Tonight's meeting is much more enjoyable than June's meeting when we were trying to cut $15 million.
that's true.
Indeed.
Okay. My scoreboard is acting a little strange, but I think it passed 5-0, didn't it?
Yes, I'm looking. Yes, it did.
Okay, 5-0. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Thank you.
If you can hear me well, should I read off donations now?
That would be perfect.
Okay. I just want to sincerely thank on behalf of Merced Union High School the following who've made donations to our different high schools. Castle Atwater Kiwanis Service, San Chotena Livestock, David and Susan Nanini, Philip and Amy Miller, Aaron and Jared Camp, DBA Great Clips, Clendenin Orchards in memory of Pete Bandoni, ECHS Robotics Booster Club, R.C. Dickey, Alan Sano Farms, Inc., Richard R. Rodner, Mark McCauley, Melvin Machado, Mark Speckman, Kevin Swartwood, Sam Parker, Louis Souza, Nancy Gardner, Margaret Elam, and K to College Supply Bank Org. And a tremendous amount of these are very specifically for scholarships. And with scholarship nights coming up, it's one of my favorites of the year. I thank everyone who's donated and especially those who've set up scholarships. And I hope more people will continue to consider doing that. It's really a neat thing.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you all for your donations. Okay, next we have Superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Pickle. First, I'd like to congratulate the Buhack Colony High School's academic decathlon team once again for their performance in the state decathlon. Not only did you make MUHSD proud, but all of Merced County. It's a testament to the work of students and the advisors put in each and every day. But really a cool accomplishment. I also want to thank the El Capitan High School Spanish Patient Care class for its informative presentation. This is another great example of how our district is preparing students to be college and career ready. And that is a real skill for sure. It's always exciting to highlight one of our many CTE pathways that prepares our students for their next step in life and real world skills. Also want to thank everyone who worked on the partnership with UC Merced, resulting in the Merced Automatic Admissions Program. It is the biggest thing to come to MUHSD in quite a while. UC Merced is a world-class institution that will have an impact on this community and the world for many, many years to come. And to guarantee a spot for MUHSD students who want to go there is just a huge opportunity for all the students in our district. It's been great having all students back on campus this week. Those numbers, we hope, will continue to rise. Our staff is working very hard to provide the best fourth quarter experience possible for our students who have lost so much during this pandemic. Now is usually the time when everything begins to snowball as we make our way toward the end of the year. The next couple of months go by especially fast for seniors, and sites are doing everything they can to provide seniors as much of a normal senior experience as possible under the current guidelines. Some exciting news, the district will be having traditional graduation ceremonies this June. Our sites are in the process of surveying families and their needs so we can provide for those needs. Our county did move into the red today, in case you did not hear that. Woohoo! Yes, deserves a clap. We can have 20% stadium capacity in the red and 33% if we move to the orange. In all likelihood, we will be having 1 or 2 traditional graduations at each site. There will be some families that do not want to participate in traditional graduations, and we will offer a simple drive-in graduation after the live traditional events. Finally, I want to comment on the summer school offerings. We will continue to work with the union to explore additional or alternative classes for summer school. That is not a problem. I think there are many ways we can find agreement there and be creative in how we approach that. And as Mrs. Ham said, and as I stated, we are really excited about our ability to move forward with these facility projects. So a few years from now, our students will have more opportunities. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Okay, last we have board communications, information, and future agenda items. Mr. Swigert, do you have any?
I do not have anything to add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Valadez.
Hello, just thanks to everyone who's doing a great job at the district and at the sites and putting students first. And of course, the academic decathlon team and everyone else that had a presentation showcase today. Thank you all.
Thank you. Mrs. Ham.
Yeah, I just, despite COVID and everything else, it really is an exciting time to be part of this district. There are so many great things going on. And so thank you to everyone that works and everyone that not only works in Merced Union High School District, but our community members. And it's just a generally good feeling, I think, to be either a student or a staff member or a trustee for Merced Union High School District. So thank you sincerely to everyone for that. I am hoping that we can take a look at our the district resolution and our policy on hate crimes. In light of so many things that are going on around the country, I want to make sure that we're supporting all of our students and all of our staff, no matter who they are, what their background is, what their beliefs are. And so I want to make sure that we pull out our anti-bullying, anti-harassment, anti-hate crime, whether it's a board policy or a resolution or whatever it is, and making sure that it is as broad reaching and emphatic as possible. So if we could please do that at our next meeting, I appreciate it.
It's on the list for me.
Thank you. And one other question I've been asked a lot, and I don't know the answer, and I don't know that anyone does, but I keep getting asked about prom. You touched on graduation. We've heard a little bit about scholarship night. Is there any hope that there might be some sort of a prom type activity, or is that completely off the table, just so we can manage expectations?
No, there will be a prom type activity. I think that's a great phrase. It won't be traditional. I know sites are planning on doing something outdoors. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm sure you all are well aware of this. Whether we do anything or not, our students are going to on their own. And, you know, we'll do everything we can with all activities, Mrs. Ham.
Thank you. Okay, good to hear.
Thank you, Mrs. Sam. Mr. Lopez?
Yeah, I just want to follow up, Mr. Peterson. I had a conversation with Chrissy Gallardo for 99 Roots, and they want to get a conversation going with us as far as starting that youth vote movement again, and when school gets back into session. So she's reached out to us as far as setting up a date to meet with her. I want to thank Dr. Aguilar, Mr. Peterson, and anybody involved with the Youth Merced Partnership. I think it's fantastic for our community. Dr. Aguilar, I want to thank you for all the work that you continue to do for the LCAP. I know I've pressed you for a lot of questions, but you've always got the right answers, and I think that speaks volumes of the work and your experience and with the LCAP. And I thank you for all of your insight and making those meetings possible and keeping the focus on our priorities and our goals. And last but not least, you know, to all our teachers, staff, our community, as Aaron's mentioned, you know, through these past 14 months, you know, to think that we are now back in school with kids in class. I think it's great. And I know a lot of work's been going on behind the scenes with Mrs. Ballinger, Mrs. Johnson, just everybody taking care of all the COVID stuff that's been going on and then trying to minimize the spread. I think our community, our teachers and staff have done a fantastic job. So thank you everyone for your perseverance through this whole process. And obviously to our cabinet, you know, because you guys are all a part of this and you guys make it happen. And Mr. Peterson and your leadership, you know, continue moving us forward, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lopez. I just briefly want to say I'm really leaving this meeting very excited and proud of what we're doing and what we're able to do for our students. It is exciting. I just want to thank the board members for your questions, your comments, your dedication. Thank you, Mr. Peterson, your cabinet. Thank you to staff at all levels. You know, we make decisions and we vote on items, but you're the ones that have to execute it and do the work behind it. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for the students for hanging in there. I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully we'll have a good end of the year for you.
Absolutely.
So thank you to everyone. And with that, we will go ahead and adjourn at 8:20.
Good evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Great meeting, everyone.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Wow.
I called it.